Hey, this is Chris from the Ticket Stub. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Welcome to Texas Franchise Radio, where your hosts, Josh Cherry and Robbie Marlowe, bring you all things franchising in the Texas market. Franchising is one of three growth strategies businesses can use to expand and capture market share, effective when done right. But there's a lot to this dynamic business model. Learn from others in the industry as we bring on all levels of franchise operators and experts.
Texas Franchise Radio. You ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going full throttle. Learn about the industry. I know you got the questions. We're trying to help you grow and take it to the next level. Straight up. Franchise operators and the experts. It's time to tune in and expand your network. So let's see how it's all done and how it's operated in the local Texas market. Time to get us educated. Robbie and Josh going live. Time to hit the road. You tune in to Texas Franchise Radio. Get your business popping. Yeah, they came to let
All right, good evening, guys. Welcome to Texas Franchise Radio. Hope you enjoyed the rap, bringing us in. I'm not sure if you heard it on Facebook Live, but you can hear it on our podcast too. Robbie Marlowe here with my co-host Josh Cherry.
What's up, Conroe? It's been a minute since November since we got to hang out with you guys. We had the Christmas episode go out in December, and back with you in 2019. Feels good.
So it's like Happy New Year to everybody.
It is Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
A little bit of everything. We
brought one of our friends in the studio with us today.
Yep.
Todd, what's up, man? Thanks for
hey
joining.
guys. Hey guys, thanks for inviting me, man. I appreciate it. It's excited to be part of the Happy New Year with everyone. So
Todd's thinking, have you seen that meme that says Houston's an hour away from Houston? Is that how you felt making the drive?
That did feel like
hey,
that coming all the way down from the
radio
south.
show? It's in Houston.
I thought it was another country, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming out here, Todd. I think he's going to have some great information for everybody for the show because Todd is a franchise consultant. And so he specializes in helping people find the franchise for them. And that's going to be a lot interesting for a lot of people. So this episode, we want to really hit on a couple things. So we really tried to plan on helping, one, the franchisor, there's somebody that's out there trying to franchise their business. One that's thinking about franchising their business. Like, hey, I've got a business that's currently running. I'm excited about it. It's doing good, and I want to franchise it. And then we also specialize in the person that's looking and try to help somebody that's looking to buy a franchise. And I think this episode, we're going to kind of hit on all three of them because we're going to talk about, one, internal franchise or sales systems and what's best practices if you're a franchise and you're looking to make sales because, that's what happens when you need to grow the franchise if you want to stay in business. And then we're also want to talk a little bit, since we have Todd here, and that's what he does, help people find the franchise for them. We're going to talk a little bit about looking for the franchise that best fits you. So,
yeah, it's gonna be fun. Todd, you get to give us a lot of insights on both sides of that spectrum, and sometimes they're opposing interests, right? Like you said, when a franchisor has a concept, works really hard to franchise it, you got to invest a lot of upfront money to turn it into a franchise. You want to recoup all that money you've invested in your franchise by gaining market share, expanding. Usually, people who start franchises are hungry entrepreneurs that do want to capture market share and grow. You've got that opposed to a franchisee or a potential investor who's trying to find that right match for them. There's a lot that goes into those two different segments and the opposing forces. And really, it's not even sales. Like that's where some franchisors get in trouble is when we call it sales, right? Like, because when you sell something, you're transferring ownership, and this is more like a partnership to gain market share. And just like the intro said, franchising, when done right, one of the most American, awesome business models in the world. But there's a lot to this dynamic business model.
They're very, very much so. I mean, I think ultimately you said it can be opposing forces, but the good franchisors realize that at the end of the day, the more they put in the success of their individual franchisees, the easier the sale becomes, right? At the end of the day, it's really not a sale. It's you got a great business model and people will be attracted to it. So
I guess that's really the hardest part with franchise, sales. It's almost like an approval process. I'm basically, when you're the franchisee coming saying, "Hi, I'm looking to buy your franchise," you're basically getting interviewed. And I want to make sure on my end that you're going to fit good in my culture, in my business, and you understand how to run said business you're going to get into. Or you have the tools or the capital or whatever to get that. So I guess it's more like an interview process. Sales, franchise sales, I guess it's always something that always hung me up because it's a difficult process because it's not selling. It's interviewing, granting approval, and then working with that person for probably the next 10, 15, 20 years of their life. So it's definitely something you got to put a lot of work into.
No, absolutely. I think it's important that it is a two-way process, right? I mean, you want to make sure that you're bringing people into the franchise that are going to be successful, because that's only going to make the next franchises successful. But at the end of the day, a lot of these people that go into franchising, it's the first time they've ever owned a business, and that's why they choose franchising. This is probably one of the biggest financial decision they'll ever make. So it's a big deal, and if you've got the right things in place to support them and be successful, then at the end of the day, for them to be successful, your next sale is that much easier.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I spent a lot of time thinking about that this weekend because with Delta Life, I lead the franchising department, like bringing on new franchise partners, and then it kicks over to development and operations and goes through all the normal stuff. But I lead the franchising part of it. And I love sales. I'm a natural salesperson because if I believe in something and I'm passionate about it, like I just want to talk about it to everybody and anybody that'll listen. So I love sales. But when I sit down with really young in the process, and we used to not be as good at it. It used to be a very quick, okay, there's 14 days that I got to disclose you, and then after that we can sign the document. Now we tell people, like, I want to get you disclosed. You got to sign receipt of the FDD, but this is going to be a 30, maybe 60 day process. We want to make sure. My job is really to talk them out of it. And that's hard for me because I'm super passionate about the brand. I'm super passionate about the business model, but we've seen too many times, like you want to have everything out there. You want to be, really almost trying to talk them out of it. And like you just said, it's one of the biggest decisions they've ever made in their life for a couple of reasons. And I thought a lot about this weekend. When you get ready to go buy a house, you're going to invest whatever, $400,000, $800,000 to go buy a house. But you get 3 months into living in that house, you don't like it, you put it up for sale, you go get a different house, right? Like you're out some cash, but no big deal. You get into a franchise system, you've not only leveraged your cash usually, a lot of times some of your 401k savings, your retirement savings, your cash is leveraged, but also in a good franchise system that's been honest with you about it being an owner-operator situation, you now have to leverage your time for the next 10 years. And it's, we want to be really clear with people up front about that. Now, we have gotten better about sitting down and going through succession plans with people. Like, hey, if you get 2 years into this, it's not what you want. Let's figure out how to get a good balance sheet, run the store well, and then get another good operator to come in and take over. So I like having that conversation up front and early also.
That's a smart approach to have that discussion. Ideally you want someone that I do that as well. Maybe not a clear succession plan, but I always, when I'm talking to people about different franchise options, we always start with what does your end goal look like, right? What is that exit strategy? And it's hard for people to grasp that concept up front. But it is important to, how do you know if you're on the right path if you don't understand what that exit looks like? So it's interesting that you bring in that succession planning, and there's two possible exits, right? One is, hey, it's ran its course, but you bring up a good point that it's also in the event that maybe it's not the right fit. So that's an interesting perspective.
I think one of the things that I think me and Josh definitely at Delta Life Fitness have figured out is who we want to run our stores. And I think that's very difficult when you first start. I know for me, when we first started, I'm thinking, I'm successful in this thing. Hey, I know who I am. Anybody can be,
right.
And then you start realizing you have to have a passion for the product. You have to, is it going to be, can you be half in, half out? Can it be a remote operator? Do you have to have somebody day in and day out? And I think as a franchisor, and the couple ones that we talked about, some of them aren't clear on that. And I think at first, that first initial 10 to 15, that's very important. You struggle there. And I think that's why you see with franchisors, they struggle early on. And I think me and Josh really understand who we're trying to serve and who we're looking for. And it makes it tough because you got to turn away some people that are wanting to give you the money, but it makes the brand better in the long run because you have a solid foundation. You know who you are.
It's so funny. It's almost, business evolution. Me and you say it all the time, like business, whether you have a business doing 200,000 a year or a business doing 200 million a year, like business problems just scale. It's the same problems at any level. You have the exact same issues going on. And exactly what you just said is, if you remember back to 2009, 2010, Robbie, we made this same evolution in the end user business. We went from serving men, women, and children in our fitness facilities to, hey, let's focus on who we can actually serve the best. And at first we thought we're crazy because how much money are we leaving on the table? Not even leaving money on the table. This man walked into his gym and had to tell guys that were training there, "Hey, I'll buy you a membership in the gym down the street." So, but we learned that, and how much more effective is our marketing now, our product delivery, it's our whole business. Women only 30-minute classes in childcare, because we dedicated ourselves to a niche. We grew way faster. We weren't leaving anything on the table. And I think we've just now got to the same point in maturity on the franchise side of the business, where we finally got okay with, hey, there is a best person to operate these studios, and we're not leaving anything on the table by telling a 90-year-old man who wants a mailbox paycheck, you're probably not a good fit to run a Delta Life Fitness studio.
And that just comes with, being weathered, being in the business.
Going through a few bumps and bruises, right?
Exactly.
So.
And it's one of those things. That's why, hiring a coach, a mentor, just really diving into the franchise magazines that Josh gets delivered to his house. I'm super jealous about that I used to get. Franchise Times, or going to the IFA, going to these events and learning from people that's been there and done that. I know it's just part of being young in business that you have early success. You get not say cocky, but you get a success mindset like, hey, I can do anything. I can work through anything. And you make mistakes. And then you realize you have to turn back and learn from them. And I think we have done a great job. And a lot of people that we talked to have done a great job of understanding that and growing.
I don't know if you ever saw that, and you've been an entrepreneur for a while now. You actually were a franchisee yourself before getting into consultants, but that's one thing. Like you just said, when you first come out the gate and you have early success, or when you have success, you start to. It's not, you always read all the cliches like success is the worst teacher. You're like, man, that's dumb. Like if you're doing well, just keep doing well. Yeah. But now I understand, and I just read Carol Dweck's book, Growth Mindset, and she talks about how NASA won't even hire astronauts unless they've overcome some significant failures in their life. And I understand that now, because if you're writing a business that's never had a failure or a setback, or you've never cycled, if you've never cycled in business, you don't know how you're going to handle it when it does happen. And now I understand why investors, franchisees, people that go into business with other people, they want to know that you've been through some rough patches, you've had those cycles, you've learned from them, you adapted, you overcame. Because if you've only had success, that's not going to continue, I promise.
Yeah, there will be that time that it comes the other way. So yeah, I think you're right. It's important that they've had that weathered that success, because at the end of the day, that's going to make them a stronger business owner and a stronger, franchisee if that's the route they go. So absolutely, I think that's a great message.
Even at the franchisee level, we try to sell some of our studios. We call them BME's best month ever. They'll crush a best month ever. They'll do really well, and we even try to, because we've been entrepreneurs for a while now. We'll even tell them, hey, good job, well done, high five.
Right.
But next month may be your worst month ever. So get back in there, and
we've all seen it, right?
No, you can't take your foot off the gas pedal, because you never know. I think that's why everybody's talking about the economy, and I think 2008 when the economy crashed, I just graduated college. And, I went through the early stages, got laid off, and went through those early stages of the depression. And now everybody talking about like, hey, it might go down. So, it'd be the first time for some of these guys that just got out of school to really feel maybe a downturn in the economy. So it'll be interesting.
Want to give a shout out real quick to some people we got watching on Facebook Live. Everybody say hi to Dana. She is a franchisee as well. She's a 3-unit owner of an I Love Kickboxing, also down in your area, Todd. Miss Cassie Marlowe supporting her man. We got Will. Will, where's he at these days? He's up north, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah. Will, what's up in Michigan? Kimberly Hess out in Austin, if that's correct. Josh Irvin, Scott Bisbee, and Shiley in Orlando. Everybody, thanks for watching Texas Franchise Radio. We got an exciting guest on today that's going to tell us a lot about selecting the right franchise for you personally. And we're excited about diving into that after we get back from the commercial break here in the second part. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Texas Franchise Radio. You ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
The road, you were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business, well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professional.
What's up, Houston and Conroe, Texas? Welcome back to Texas Franchise Radio. Hey, Robbie was talking about, before we went to the break, he was talking about this little guy right here, Franchise Times Magazine. If you don't get this magazine, if you're interested in all things franchising, either from the franchisor side, franchisee side, you got to get this magazine.
No,
I don't know why Robbie doesn't read it. It's a great book. Franchise Times, January. We got the Fast and the Serious Franchise Times ranking the smartest growing brands, the top 10 smartest growing brands of 2018. You guys know what number one is? Did you already look? Did you peek?
I did not.
Any guess what industry it is?
Fitness?
Nope, it's not.
I'm
Do
guessing
you know number
food.
one? Yeah. All right, here we go. Number one is Blaze Pizza, the fast casual pizza restaurant. It's like Chipotle for your pizza, right?
Yeah.
We're a little familiar with.
Absolutely.
We have some partners out in California who run Delta Life Fitness Studios, and they're an owner of. They own the Blaze Pizza in College
Yeah,
Station.
if you're in College Station, you're looking for good pizza, swing by Blaze Pizza.
And then when you're done, go work it off. Go see
Yeah,
Miss
exactly.
Anita. We've got a Delta Life over there in College Station.
Absolutely.
You can swing by. And then from there, fitness does seem to dominate. So number two would be Orange Theory Fitness at number two. They grew their same store sales by 100% and their locations by more than 70%. It's insane that they're still growing at that speed. It's very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
9 round boxing gyms. Old Shannon the Cannon and his team continue to grow 9 rounds. So they're at number 3. Amazing Lash Studio at number 4. Club Pilates at number 5. The Halal Guys Street Food Restaurant at number 6. So all the way up until number 5, you had one. How weird is that from 20 years ago? I mean, 20 years ago, they would have all been food.
Fast food, yeah.
They would have all
Yep.
been food. Now there was one food, and it's a fast casual, and the rest were service-based. 3 of them were fitness. I'll just throw that out there. So we're in, we're in good times.
Good spot to be, yeah.
Number 7 was Home Investors. Number 8, Mosquito Joe.
Yeah.
We know a guy from Mosquito Joe over in San Antonio. So he used
Yeah,
to be in
we
Mosquito
do.
Joe. He did some cool things.
Actually, I got a business partner in one of my other businesses that's a Mosquito Joe franchise owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
they just got
Here in
acquired,
Houston.
didn't
Here in Houston.
They did get acquired. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that coming
By
up
the
on
Dwyer.
Chump the Chump?
Yeah.
Oh, he already knows the
yeah,
answer.
yeah, absolutely.
You break I fix mobile repair service. I mean, that's a whole new industry altogether. And then Nothing But Cakes at number 10. So there was
My wife loves that place.
No, yeah,
so,
nothing but cakes. Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was working, a guy, I worked with his parents own the franchise, and at the meetings they used to bring the Nothing But Cakes to the
Yeah.
meetings. So we loved that. I gained a couple pounds,
Couple pounds,
in that
oh, yeah.
process.
And Robbie, I don't know what this means for us, but Sean Grove of Club Pilates said, in an emerging boutique fitness business, it's grow fast or die slow. So we need to pick up the speed, my friend.
Yeah, you can almost change his name out with my name because I've been preaching.
You've been preaching that, huh?
I'm just joking. All right. Okay, so we're going to kick it off. We have Todd here. Todd is a franchise consultant, a franchisee. So he has a perspective from really both ways. I'm looking for a franchise. I bought a franchise. I'm currently working in a franchise. And being in the franchise business is not something that you hear about all the time. So we're going to get a little bit about Todd's story and how he got in the franchise business and kind of what are you doing right now?
Sure. Yeah. So, how did I get in the franchise business, right? So, believe it or not, once upon a time, I was actually an electrical engineer.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. So, was in the corporate life for a while. And like many people that end up going the franchise route, I had my corporate shove it moment, right? And
Oh,
just
yeah.
kinda, hey, look, I'm tired of working for somebody.
I mean, you could grab a beer,
The-
Todd.
Yeah, right.
The
We've all
entryway
been-
to every entrepreneur.
Yeah, right. Sometimes there's a good way to say shove it, and sometimes not.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely.
So hey, but yeah, and so with we're looking to move back to Houston, and my wife and I, and try to figure out what the heck do we want to do.
Mhm.
And I came across a gentleman that happened to be a franchise consultant, and because I didn't know what I wanted to be in business and wanted to start something, but like a lot of entrepreneurs. You can try to create something from scratch, but why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, right? And so,
That's
You're
correct.
hard-headed.
yeah, you could be, yeah.
You're
But then
dumb. Like we were.
cost you a few more dollars doing it that way, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we just started looking at it, and through the process, kind of decided to buy into and become a franchisee.
So you went through a consultant your first go round as well.
I very much
Oh,
did.
interesting.
Yeah, and here's the value of that. Here's the value of that for me as a consultant, and I think why I ultimately got into becoming a consultant is again when you're in the corporate life, you become very good at whatever you do. Oh, sorry, you
Yeah, you're
become
good.
very good at whatever you do. But that's a little bit different than as a business owner or entrepreneur. You wear a few more hats, and so hey, what's the best franchise out there, right? And that's all I want. I just want to make a lot of money and want the best franchise. Just tell me what that secret sauce is.
Yeah.
But the reality is that is different for every individual that's out there, right? And every the three of us here, right? And we all have different things that we're good at and different things skills that we bring to the table, different goals in life, right? And so at the end of the day, what's important is identifying kind of what every individual's own personal why is, right? And as we understand that why, then what I'm able to do as a franchise consultant is bring to them franchise brands that are going to help them accomplish those goals, right? And that's at the end of the day, the real trick of I say the trick, it's not even a trick, but it's the key is making sure that it fits them.
Yeah. So if you're talking to somebody and you're trying to pry that out, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah,
I think
sure.
it's a good thing that somebody needs to look for. I think it's hard. I come from the corporate world too, and I was an electrical designer.
Okay.
So I worked a lot with engineers, and we have a certain way of thinking. And I think it's hard for us to, and just anybody right now that's in the corporate world saying, hey, you know what, I want to quit my job tomorrow. They're initially going to go to, how do I replace the income that I have now?
Exactly.
And that why question is they're not really going to think of that. So if you're somebody right now and you're listening to the show, or you so happen to pick this up in a podcast, and you want to, what do you ask somebody to get that out of them?
It's not obviously not one thing. We just ask. We have a whole series of questions, right?
Okay.
I've got a fairly, for me to do that, I typically have to spend about an hour and a half with an individual.
Okay.
And we just kind of go through all aspects of different things, right? What are their personal interests, and understand the personal interests. What are, if they've worked in corporate life or whatever it is, what are the jobs that they've enjoyed doing the most, and what do they enjoy doing the least, right? And oftentimes you get more out of what they don't like doing than what they do like doing. And there's different reasons that different people are going into business, right? Sometimes it's, hey, look, I've ran the course, I don't need to work, but I'm looking for something to do, right? And that's okay. That's one different one. Some people, it's it's about, I'm tired of working and traveling all the time. I really want to be able to work, normal business hours, Monday through Friday. And so it really is just kind of going through a discovery process with them as individuals and understanding all those different aspects of their life and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful for somebody that's looking to basically jump and change their life. I mean, and maybe quit their job and look into a franchise to find somebody like that and ask those questions. I think that's very.
I mean, I know even from my side, from franchise sales, from a brand standpoint, Todd, I mean, since I've known you, I mean, I see the value in this world of knowing other consultants and knowing people who are trying to place people with a better brand. I think any franchisor that has 20 plus units who's had some, they understand that you don't want to just say yes to anybody. You don't want just somebody who's financially qualified. You want somebody who's super pumped and excited for your brand, and that's really what you want. Like, don't get me like, I want to have 3,000 units, and I wish they were all open tomorrow. Like,
No, absolutely.
but I want the right people, because like it's not worth the pain if you drag somebody in who's not a good fit.
Mhm.
In the benefit of, like, since I've known you, we had a great guy here in the Houston market who had he was very well financially qualified, older gentleman, wanted multiple territories, but he was never going to be a good fit for Delta Life Fitness. So I just sent him over to Todd, like, hey, Todd's got hundreds, like, go look at him. So back to what we were talking about before the break, once you get to the point where you're comfortable on both sides, just being like, because there is no one right franchise. Like you said, there's no secret sauce.
There is.
It depends on every variable you just said.
Exactly.
And all I'm looking for is, do you match the variables that make a successful Delta Life owner? And that's all I can do. And I got to talk to a bunch of people to find that one person,
Well, and that's the the advantage of with working with a franchise consultant is you can try to Google it and try to figure that out yourself. But Google there's only going to tell you so much information. You're going to spend a lot of time spinning your wheels. And so, we've got the benefit of knowing and understanding, working with a franchisor such as Delta Life Fitness and understanding what is the type of person that's going to be a good fit for you as a franchisor, and understand that prospective franchisee and make the match, right? And so really at the end of the day, it provides value for both sides.
Yeah. And I think it's just like when you go to look for sites, having a site model criteria and that little, like, we need the same thing. Every franchisor should have the same thing for the candidate you're looking for. So when a broker says, who are you looking for? Hey, this one page right here tells me. And so when you find that person, we're all not wasting time. The person looking for the right brand, you trying to match them, me trying to find, like, oh, I already know you're a perfect fit for this brand, right? So you go through the franchise consultant process, you end up with an AC franchise, right?
Yeah, no, that was exactly. So, and going through that process, like anything, right? You have some things that went the way you expected it, and you have some things that you learn from. And so, understanding that and understanding what that level of support as a franchisee needs, it's making sure as a franchise consultant that I'm talking to the particular candidates and helping them uncover what is the areas of support that they really need. Right. And that is different depending on what their background is. And quite frankly, that's one of the things that when I look at what makes a good franchisor, it really is, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it really is what is the level of support that they're going to be able to provide that person once they become a franchisee. Because again, if that franchisee is successful, the validation process becomes so easy with future franchisors.
Well, and I've also realized after being in this game for a little bit that, sometimes you can still have a good match. And maybe there's not support. So say some of the other fitness brands that are out there, there's some really low buy-in ones that you can get into for like $100,000 or less total investment. And they target people who are already personal trainers. They already know that you know how to train people. You're going to make your own workouts. We just want to give you a little branding and marketing. And for some people, that may be a great fit. If you're coming from, if you're coming from the corporate world and you don't know anything about training and you need those systems, you're going to fail miserably if you go with one of those. So again, it's not anything bad on that franchisor who's not systematizing everything. It's just, you got to find the right person, and they got to know that that's what they're buying into.
Well, and I think that's my point is it's what, and again, that's understanding the individual and what is the support that they need, right? Because to your point, if they everyone needs different levels of support. And so that's part of that matching process that goes into what we do.
This is so interesting. I mean, people that have been listening to Texas Franchise Radio for a while, you've probably
a couple of them.
Yeah, both of you.
All two.
Okay.
I couldn't
And
help but get that in
that's
there.
mom and right now.
Cassie Marlowe.
Cassie and Shiley. My sister in Orlando doesn't miss an episode. So for you too, you're kind of like I didn't even know this world existed. So you're kind of like a real estate broker, but for franchise. So just somebody who's thought maybe I am tired of the corporate grind, or maybe I just do want something on the side. Like, what is that first step, and how do they get connected with somebody like you? And then, so how do they find you or someone like you? And then what is the process that they go through once they get connected with you?
Well, obviously that comes in a lot of different forms. I mean, I think to kind of what we're doing right here, first is the awareness that it exists, right? And it's if they're serious and they really are interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, and they think franchising is going through a franchise option is the way to go, then quite frankly, it's fairly easy, right? Obviously, there's several brokers out there, but it's once you connect with them, then it's just a process of what I tell people is the more that you're willing to share with that broker, the more that they're our consultant, the more that they're going to be able to help.
Okay. So you go through a checklist and you gather as much information as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a twofold process. You talked about this a little bit earlier, is to some extent the first thing that we try to understand is we call it MTM, right? What is their motivation? What's the time they're willing to commit and money, right?
Oh, that's perfect.
And
Wow,
that's a reality is, because we like you said earlier, quite frankly, we do try to disqualify. And it's not that we're doing it the wrong way, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they are going to be successful as an entrepreneur, no matter what brand they pick.
It just saves everybody time and money.
It does. And so, look, if you've got the motivation, the time and the money, then we will invest time with you and work with you to find that right brand. And that's the key.
And I think I took that away from you whenever me and you and I sat down and had lunch. I came home and told Robbie, that's like, get to know as fast as possible. And that's what I do, right? Like I try to get the prospect to know as fast as possible by telling them. And really, I mean, you could just go to our website and you can kind of 90% of people probably disqualify themselves because we list a lot of financial qualification. Like, hey, you got to have this minimum to get started anyway.
Right.
So, and I think getting to know as fast as possible, but I'll take 6 months. If somebody's still interested and they're just trying to figure out if it's for them, I'll answer questions and talk to them and meet with them for 6 months. But I am trying to get them to a no as fast as possible.
In some ways, you're right. You're looking for that no as fast as possible. Now, look, like you said, we'll take the time that's necessary because, oftentimes they are currently working or they've got other businesses or whatever it is. So, we've got to be conscious of that. But as long as they're being diligent in what it is that they need to do to go through the validation process, then we'll continue to spend time and work with them and help them, get through the process.
I agree. So they give you all the information, and then so what's usually your next step? You kind of take all that, you compile it down into a one pager, and you look at a few different brands that could possibly match.
Yeah. So we have, we build I call it's a unique model for that individual, and then I within our I hate to use the word inventory, but plethora of franchise brands, we've got about 300 brands across every industry you can imagine, right?
Okay.
Whether it's real estate, whether it's fitness, whether it's food, whether it's automotive, whether you name it, right? Consulting, we've got the gamut. Once we narrow it down to a key thing, what we do is we go into that inventory, we do some search, we talk to the franchisors, understand. Obviously, we've got to do a territory check, right? Is the area available in their location? And then usually what we'll do is we'll reconnect with that person and we'll present 3 to 4 different brands that we think fit their model or their criteria. And at that point,
when you present, what do you assemble like a slide deck? You just take flyer materials from the various brands?
Yeah, it's going to vary a little bit on the candidate and what they need. I've got a template that we use that's got a brand comparison sheet. So it gives kind of some of the basics, how long have they been in business and how many units do they have? What's the investment level?
Okay.
And then some basic things. At the end of the day, the key is what we're trying to connect with is what is it about their model, what they're trying to choose, and what the individual brand, how it connects.
And that's what you have to highlight.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where we usually try to do it. And then, I usually try to present 3 or 4 brands and then ask them to tell me what they like and don't like about it. And it's perfectly okay if they don't like every single one of them. They tell me what they don't like.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Matter of fact, I'd rather hear what it is that you don't like and why you don't like it, because that helps me learn more about that person as an individual, and we're better likely to find a better fit for them. So that's really what the process is. And once we've gone through there and they think they've got we've narrowed it down to 1 or 2 brands that they really want to interest, that's when we connect them with the franchisor and I can only give them information at 30,000 foot level. The franchisors know their business better than anyone else. So now it's time for them to speak with the franchisors.
So, Todd, and the name of your business is Success, the number 4 you consulting, right?
That's right.
So it sounds like a huge value add. You're sitting there, you're doing all
absolutely.
this work with them to understand them, gather their information. Then you're going and gathering this comparison chart. Sounds like it's really expensive to this prospective franchisee.
Yeah, actually, at the end of the day, we don't charge the candidates anything.
Yeah, just like real estate. Really.
Yeah, it's the value is we work with the franchisors, and we talked about this earlier, right? The value to the candidate is we've got a plethora of open franchises that we can work with. The franchisor, the value that's brought to them is, number one, they don't have to go through all those people that aren't even going to be a good fit to begin with. And so we pre-qualify them to some degree. So.
Yeah,
it's a value on both sides.
I mean, if you're listening and you're even slightly interested in going with a franchise model, I mean, if I ever do it later in my life, my first step is going to go to a franchise consultant that I trust, that I know has some industry experience. I would prefer one that's been a franchisee themselves, so they know,
what to look for.
Yeah, what to look for. Hey, this is what got me in my contract. Here's what you're going to want. I want somebody that's got some experience with it and understands an FDD pretty well.
And somebody that has a relationship with the franchisor at a point,
Yes.
Todd you can kind of see my personality. If I'm sitting talking with you, the personality of the franchisor, you can kind of make sure that you can
hey, Todd, am I going to mix with these boys? Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So, I mean, if you're listening and you're even slightly interested in pursuing the franchise route, highly recommend you find a consultant.
Do you find people that come to you looking for franchise, do they do a lot of their homework and come to you with hey, I'm interested in these brands, or you prefer them to just, hey, I'm interested? You prefer that conversation just me and you to have, or do you prefer me to come in with?
I've seen both, but probably I would say majority of the time, what they express their initial interest in is almost never what they end up with.
You start getting down to it.
Well, and I think a couple reasons, right? Again, it boils down to what their initial interest is. They were driving down the street and they saw, whatever, right? Subway or whatever something that they saw. Oh, that looks like it'd be a good, but they found life with it from the product to the service. They don't really understand it from the business side of it and what makes a good business and what makes a good business for them as a personality fit.
Yes, sir.
And that's a big difference, right? What the product or service versus a business are two different things.
You could say that 1,000 times and it wouldn't be enough. That's such a strong, true statement.
No, absolutely. And then I'm telling you, I just found out about that world of people wanting to connect people with franchise. I think it's a very interesting and very helpful tool. So I think everybody that's interested in opening a franchise should utilize it.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's such a good value add from the franchisor side, because, I am heavily interested in gaining market share, but I want to do it with the people that I know a broker has put in that time already and said, man, I've got Tiffany, and Josh, I'm telling you, she is exactly what you guys are looking for in operators in Del's life. That makes me excited. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think it's just, what a brilliant market space. It's a good idea. You should franchise that.
Right, exactly. So, it's fun because at the end of the day, you're helping people find, kind of what's, create a great, bright future for themselves. Right? And so that's fun to do.
Yeah. So me and Josh, we had a conversation, I don't know, a couple weeks ago with the franchisor, and he was kind of touching base with us. How do y'all make franchise sales? And I'm guessing we're going to change the tune a little bit here and kind of change pace. If you're a franchisor and listening, we know we're good?
2 minutes, then we'll go to break. You're
okay.
good.
Okay, so we can come off break and talk about this, and it's something we can think about. But if you're a franchisor and you're looking to make sales, you got brokers, you got social media. What are some other tools that y'all know of that they can utilize to start trying to get leads? Because we know getting leads in the franchise business is difficult, it's expensive, and we want to make sure that we're spending our money in the right place. So it's something, I guess, when we get back, we only got a couple minutes left, but till break. But that's something that we can kind of hit on a little bit on what other avenues can we do to make sales.
Yeah, that's a good thing to come back in on. And if you're watching us live on Facebook, we've got Todd here. This is what he does. If you're an electrical engineer right now and you're thinking, that's me, I'm looking for my shove it moment. If you have a question on anything you want to throw out for Todd, we're going to go to break here in just a second, but go to Facebook Live, throw in that question for us, and we'll get it answered for you when we get back.
Business models, invest in franchises, we going full throttle.
Want to check out the fastest growing sport in the world? It's right here in Conroe, Texas, and it's roller derby. Conroe Roller Derby is a nonprofit recreational league of women and men who want you to come and check out the fast-paced, hard-hitting game of roller derby. The Conroe Cutthroats practice at Rainbow Roller Rink on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You can find our game schedule and more information on our website, www.conroerollerderby.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business. Well, this is what you need.
All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome to Texas Franchise Radio. Back from break, and we were right before we went to break. We started talking about best practices for franchisors to gather leads from prospective clients. We know we have consultants that are helping clients find the best franchises, but what are some other good practices if you are a franchisor right now listening and saying, "Hey, it's New Year's. I'm looking to get some more leads. Where can I go?"
I'll tell you what I do real quick and then hand it over to the expert. Todd's got way more experience in this than I do. For me, in one, I wrote down the MTM. I think that was genius. What's the motivation, time, and money?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with that from now on. That's brilliant, and get a little more clear on the candidate profile that we're going for there and make sure we're matching that MTM. I love that. So what we use, and we were talking before the show, a good healthy amount. And Orange Theory, we just read their numbers and their growth. They said like 90% of their franchisees come up out of their system. So they're like members at the gym, their staff, something like that. That has certainly been the case for us. So we have two different types, right? We have people that are just, they're working in the studio. They're a manager at the studio. They're a coach at the studio. They're a member at the studio. They love the brand, the passion, the ladies. They fall in love with everything about it. They're already running the business and they know the business systems. That's where a good number comes. And you treat those a lot different because they already know, like, you don't have to spend as much now I just got to make sure you're financially qualified.
Right,
I know you already understand
you
the
understand
model.
the brand, right?
Yeah, in the brand. And then you got the other side where they're coming in from all the other different ways. And it's easy to see if they're financially qualified. I mean, that takes 2 seconds, right?
Yep.
You have it or you don't. And then it's more complicated of trying. So if I have somebody from Nebraska right now, I don't have a Delta Life in Nebraska. You got to come to Houston. You got to try my classes. We got to have this big discovery day. Anyway, best things that are working for me right now for leads. Obviously, if you're friends with me on social media, I post on there quite a bit. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'll also reach out just to the gym owners, themselves. And we've talked about making some branding guidelines and having I Love Kickboxing. We talked about Dana. You go into her I Love Kickboxing in spring. She's got the franchises available sign hanging up on the window. We've got some initiatives we want to go out with that way.
What was the number Orange Theory said that internal clients becoming franchises?
It was about 90%.
90% of their franchisees are coming from
clients.
We're clients seeing the studio, doing research.
That was straight from Dave Long.
What better validation?
Yeah, no,
than
he even said
that was interesting.
A big majority of them, the whole territory where they immediately lived was sold out, and they were having to relocate.
Wow.
Yep.
And
they were willing to get up and move, and it was a very interesting number to hear.
So growing outside of the brand, because really we've grown, and I think I told you this, Todd, so far we've grown almost all internally, like just from the store. Now we're reaching in and establishing relationships with guys like Todd and brokers and bringing them by the studios and showing them the model. And then we're signing up with a lot of different franchise leads. And this is good if you're looking for a franchise or if you're a franchisor. You can go to franchiseopportunities.com. You can go to Franchise Gator, America's Best Franchises. Todd, I know you're going to know a lot more. But basically, I mean, like Google franchise opportunities and click on any of the links. And then you can click industry, investment amount. And it's going to show you a whole bunch of different categories. Delta Life Fitness is on there for a few of them. When you click that you want more information about that one, yeah, so we call those portals. So we do get a lot of leads from portals, personal social media, and everybody on our team sharing it on social media, and then press releases every time you do a ribbon cutting, those kind of things. That's where we get the majority of our leads right now. We'll kick it over to the expert.
Yeah, excuse me. We, quite frankly, it's very similar, right? I think at the end of the day, I think the best lead source is a mixture of all of those. I think probably, you mentioned social media and stuff like that. Obviously, LinkedIn is one of those sources that can be very powerful, particularly, because you can identify folks that they are in that corporate life. Maybe they're looking because people start posting when they're searching for jobs or something like that. And those are great candidates. There's something to be said for longevity in the business, and you build a client of contacts that you've worked with, or it may not have been right for them at that time, but it's always important to stay connected with that base, because guess what? Something in their life can change, and 2 years from now, or 2 years ago it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
right for them, but 2 years from now it's good. So I think it's important to stay connected with that base of contacts that you've already generated. But at the end of the day, I think almost all the ones that you said I think are valid at different points. I think the key is having a good mixture. It's I hate to say it's a simple business model, but at the end of the day, it's a contact sport. The more people you make contact with, the more, and they're aware of what you do and what you offer, the more chances are that you're going to find somebody that's interested.
That's true.
No, absolutely.
I think what Todd's trying to say is the only way you should ever buy a franchise is to go to Success number 4 for you consulting.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
All right, time for everybody's favorite part of the show.
All right, we ready? Dun-dun-dun-dun. All right, we're going to do Stump the Chump. Everybody that watches the show, the two people that every time watch the show, you know the rules. But what Stump the Chump is basically we ask some questions revolved around franchising. And we start off with Todd, and it goes back to Josh. And at the end, the winner gets to be celebrated, and the loser, we shame and call him a chump. But Todd, Josh has never won this.
So I got a pretty low bar. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, we can't let him win this one, okay? But they're pretty difficult questions. Usually the first ones we kind of test the water a little bit, and then we go into more franchise-driven questions. So let's go ahead and get started with number one. Todd, this is going to be for you. Since we're getting into the Super Bowl this weekend, I know everybody knows who I'm pulling for, but what two NFL football teams are in the Super Bowl this weekend?
What two? The New England Patriots and St. Louis Rams. Or not, sorry, Los Angeles Rams. Wow. Almost had it. Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right, ding, ding. One for Todd.
I didn't know we're talking NFL franchise.
Yeah.
All right, number two. All right, who drew the Felix the Cat cartoons? I know you're a cartoon fan, so who drew those? I was really worried about putting this one on there.
Dexter something.
Nope. Wrong. All right, Todd. This one goes for you.
Gotta tell us.
That's a good question. No, his name was Otto Messermer.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize if anybody knows him and I said that name wrong. Which is probably right, but all right, number three. So I did a little research on brands that got acquired this year. Mosquito Joe, I almost put it on here. I wish I would have, knowing that Todd knows the question.
Right.
I'm glad.
But Inspire Brands, which is a multi-restaurant brand, owns Arby's. They just purchased Buffalo Wild Wings not too long ago, and Rusty Tacos. They just acquired what drive-up burger place for $2.3 billion.
Oh,
That's a good question.
It's a drive-up.
drive up
place.
like a Sonic? Is that?
Oh, yeah, here we go. All right.
Your hit was very helpful.
All right.
So.
You believe in this? Hey, I need you to pull up Google for me and be ready to pass
Yeah,
me
right.
some.
All right. So if we're talking about Sonic, when did the first Sonic open? I'll do it multiple choice
Okay,
because I want to at
multiple
least
choice.
give you one. A, 1959, B, 1961, C, 1975, D, 1956.
I was gonna say 54, so I'm gonna go with 56.
Wrong. 1959.
Dang it!
All right, Todd. This one's actually kind of difficult. I probably should. No, better yet, I'll give that one for Josh. All right.
You gotta see how this game goes, huh? I mean,
All right. Yum Brand. It owns 3 fast food concepts. One's Pizza Hut. I don't know if you call that fast food. They're kind of going into more dine-in. 2 is KFC. What is the third?
Taco Bell.
oh,
all
come
right,
on, I knew that one.
All right. It's kind of changed pace a little bit. What was the name before they changed it to Sonic? I'll do a multiple choice here.
Okay, thank you.
1, Joe Burgers. 2, the Drive-In Stop. 3, DQ. And then 4, the Top Hatter.
The drive-in stop.
Nope, Top Hatter.
Man, come on.
All right. The next one. So you can see I had to skip one. It kind of threw off my thing. But how many units does Taco Bell have open right now?
Ooh, worldwide?
Yes, worldwide.
Unit. Oh wow. That's a pretty big number, I would guess. I don't know.
It's more than the amount of listeners Texas Franchise Radio has.
Yeah, more than 2. Is that right?
That's just in Conroe.
I don't know. Say 3,000.
Okay, Josh.
What, is this like Price is Right? It's got to be closer, so I'm gonna go with 3001. Obviously, still me a point here.
All right.
But if I have to make a serious guess,
yeah,
25,000.
6,500.
Oh man, that's low. Yeah, that's way low
All right, we'll get that
compared
point
to
to
what I
Josh.
thought.
All right, how many customers weekly do they serve?
Ooh, 6,500 stores. Probably seeing
Oh, he's going to start doing
Well,
math.
we
on
don't
that.
want to say
that.
We don't want to-
a day.
How many do they weekly?
Oh, weekly times 7. I can't. Oh, you throw an extra digit in there. I can't do that. So we'll just say 250,000.
All right, so
I was gonna say 300,000. Yeah.
40 million people weekly.
40 million.
Yeah, I got that off their website. I don't know how true that is. So if you fact check me, don't throw me under the bus. All right, so Todd, that was the last question. Todd won. I do have a tiebreaker, but let's let the audience answer this one.
Throw in your answer. And then I got one announcement here when we're done with something.
All right, so I want to ask this to the audience, and they can answer when you're listening to it, podcast, email me. Colonel Sanders founded KFC at what age? Don't Google it. I mean,
it's like. Oh, can I guess?
You can guess.
It's like 62. He was pretty old.
62.
Was he that old? I was gonna say 50.
He was 65.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was impressive.
I knew he was pretty old. to have that much drive to go through all that at 65.
So I asked the audience to answer the question. I gave the question, the answer to the question. So
Right.
I guess it don't really work. So you don't win anything if you do answer it. Just gonna let you know. All right, Josh has an announcement.
Yeah, what camera are we on here? Do we have this one? Is that one a good camera? Texas Franchise Radio, sponsored by Delta Life Fitness, a place for women to train right. Here in the local Conroe market, just want to let you know that we are, T-minus 8 weeks from opening 1488, something
Yep.
like that, pretty soon. The Magnolia store. Todd, you've been to the spring store
Yeah.
right here on 2920 in Gosling.
Yep.
Jeez, I'll get it out. Give me a second. We have 4 territories left here in the local market. We have Tomball, Creekside, the Woodlands, and Harmony. You can go see Todd and talk to him about different franchise opportunities, and he can send you my way. Go to success4uconsulting.com.
For the number 4.
Or you can just go to deltalifefitness.com, or you can email me or send me a message. But yeah, we've got those. Josh Irvin guessed 56, by the way. He must have guessed.
You're awarded 0 points.
So yeah, Tomball, Creekside, Woodlands, and Harmony for that. What else we got exciting coming up in the franchise world before we meet with you guys next time? The International Franchise Association Conference is going on in Vegas, February 19th. We
Yep.
will not be there this year.
I wanted to be there. Gary Vee speaking. I'm curious what he's going to tell the franchise world.
Gary Vee is speaking, he's very anti-franchise because he just believes in like just
Yep.
bull entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see what Gary Vee is going to tell.
And you get all the, so it's a little bit of an older crowd. They skew a little older when you go to the IFA. So
Right.
I'm curious what they would feel because last year, what was it? It was
the Anytime Fitness
and
founders.
And I thought they did a good job, but they were a little bit more brash and a
They
little
said
bit
a
more
couple of
fun.
cuss words.
Yeah,
and
and
old-
Right.
kind
They
of
didn't-
disgruntled a little bit. And they're kind of younger guys.
David Long is leading, which, is the guy that currently me and Robbie look up to a lot and try to learn a lot from. David Long, the CEO of Orange Theory Fitness. He's leading a class in the Emerging Brand Boot Camp. So we're super
Yeah,
sad.
no, it is upsetting. It is upsetting.
But we got studios to open here in Tennessee, in Arizona, and here in the local market. So we're going to be busy. We're overworked, and we got to figure that out. Todd, thanks so much for joining us on the show today,
yeah,
man.
Thanks for driving down here.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really enjoyed it.
Let's go grab some lunch. Conroe, we'll see you in February.
Thank you for listening to Texas Franchise Radio, where we bring on all the local franchise experts. If you liked the show, please share it with your friends. If you have any questions you'd like answered live on the show, send them to @Texas Franchise Radio on Facebook. Till next time.
Texas Franchise Radio. You ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going full throttle. Learn about the industry. I know you got the questions. We're trying to help you grow and take it to the next level. Straight up. Franchise franchise operators and the experts. It's time to tune in and expand your network. So let's see how it's all done and how it's operated in the local Texas market. Time to get us educated. Robbie and Josh going live. Time to hit the road. You tune in to Texas Franchise Radio. Get your business poppin', yeah, they came to let you know. You tune in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh.